this week's blog. I'm Leanne Spencer. This week's blog's all around the modern malaise and how to overcome the symptoms of it and get less stress. So how do we go about doing that? And what is the modern malaise? Well, I think it's contributed to by many things, but it's what we call the general condition of many busy professionals now, which is tired and wired, for example. So that's when you're deeply fatigued, and yet when you try and get to sleep, you struggle to do so. So there's still a lot of adrenaline coursing through your veins. It's also in the way we interact with our smartphones. Having everything set up on alerts and pinging and buzzing and dinging all the time means that we've developed this very interesting relationship with our smartphones. It's almost in some ways become addictive. For many of us, it's a reflex move to the phone whenever you think of anything that needs Googling. Whereas in the past, we'd have just let it go. We're very bound to our email and to our various other social media just to make sure how many likes we've got. And a lot of this is connected again with hormones. So I've already mentioned adrenaline, but the other hormone is dopamine. And Simon Sinek has a brilliant video, which I'll link to further down in the notes, which is worth watching, which he basically talks about the addictive relationship that we've got with our smartphones now, and how many of us respond to the message with a little hit of dopamine, which is the hormone or neurotransmitter that's released in the reward center of the brain. So every time we get a message, we think, oh, who's that? What could it be? Is it good news? And we rush to check that device. Or every time we hear a bing or a buzz or a whir, we're checking our social media to see who it is that has liked or approved our content. So that's a very big part of this. Part of the modern malaise is also email. The way in which we respond to email is almost become a threat. So previously, when our ancestors would have felt in a sympathetic dominant state, it would have been when they were physically threatened. What's happened now is that we feel physically threatened, or we respond in the same way, even to something like the volume of work we have to do, or the amount of email in our inbox. And I always find that's really crazy. I mean, email in my email inbox is a lot like a to-do list. Now, whilst I would not be happy if someone came up and they wrote down 3 or 4 things on my to-do list on my pad or on a piece of paper for me, I'd push back on that. I think, hang on a minute, this is my to-do list. Yet when somebody sends me an email, it's exactly the same thing. They're dropping a message into my email account, which essentially is adding to my to-do list. So that's something that I find really interesting. And I think if we change the way we look at our email inboxes, or how we allow other people to put things into there, then that could be a very good way of out of the modern malaise. Interesting, there was I think it's a French company that have now passed, or French government rather, have passed a law around email regulation. And any employer over 50 employees has to have a policy around email response out of hours. I think and I hope that the UK will go the same way. Another aspect of the modern malaise is a deep sense of unfulfillment. So I think a lot of people, particularly as you get into your 30s and 40s, as many of you will be and perhaps a little older, are doing something that is actually deeply unfulfilling and lacks authenticity. Particularly, if you're working in the city, you may have started out wanting that kind of career, but then found as you raised in seniority and as time passed, that actually it's not ticking a lot of boxes for you. So they're just some of the symptoms of the modern malaise. The Mind charity recently released some very startling statistics. It found that 65% of people had a mental health problem. Only 13% reported positive mental health attitudes and mental health behaviours. 1 in 4 people were depressed as well. So there's a really startling set of statistics, and that very much is part of what I refer to when I talk about the modern malaise. So what is it we can do about it? Well, we've got 4 suggestions for areas that you can consider. The first one is just familiarise yourself with hormones. Understand that it's dopamine that makes you feel good when you get a message, or adrenaline that perhaps makes you feel tense when you get an email because it's yet another thing you think you need to respond to. Many of us, as part of the modern malaise, are running on adrenaline. That gives you the false impression that you're energized, but actually you're not. And at some point, those adrenal glands producing that adrenaline are going to run down. And that's when you get something called adrenal fatigue, and that's on the road to burnout as well. So hormones, just be aware of them. Be aware of the hormones that connect hunger with satiety, with feeling good. Hormones like serotonin, for example. With cortisol, which is important for your circadian rhythm. With serotonin and melatonin, which are important for circadian rhythm. And we can give you some help on that. And there's lots of resources and blogs in the resource area of our website, www.bodyshopperformance.com/resources. The second thing to look at is nutrition. So a key part of the modern malaise is that people are eating the wrong kind of foods. What you want to look at is clean, whole foods, so a plant-based diet, lots of water, meat perhaps twice a week, maybe some oily fish twice a week, minimal amounts of refined carbohydrate, minimal amounts of sugar. So something that is really a healthy, balanced diet that's predominantly plants, and you will feel almost instantly better. Another one is movement. So really important to get moving as much as you possibly can. That's daily life movement, and by that I mean just getting up and about, making sure that you're never really sitting for very long, not longer than 60 minutes. Any opportunity to take the stairs, all that kind of stuff really, really matters. So think about movement as well. So they are the things that we wanted to cover off in this week's blog. As ever, if you need help from us, contact us at www.bodyshopperformance.com. You can contact me at leanne@bodyshopperformance.com or send a general email to info@bodyshopperformance.com. Don't forget to check out our podcast, Remove the Guesswork. It's on iTunes. We have 16 5-star reviews, over 1,000 downloads. We'd love to hear what you think. Perhaps you want to contribute to the content as well. If you think you'd make a great guest, let us know. Thanks very much and see you next week.